This is Algebra 1, Lesson 3, and it's the lesson practice problems. Problem A says for us to find the perimeter of a rectangle if the length is 10 centimeters and the width is 5 centimeters. So I'm going to start off just drawing the rectangle. And then I can label the rectangle. The longer side is 10 centimeters and the shorter side is 5 centimeters. And you don't have to draw it, but I think the tendency would be to make an error unless you're good at picturing this in your head. So I would just takes a couple seconds to draw it. And then we want the perimeter, so we want to go the entire distance around. So if we start here, we're going to go 5, this will be 10, and then 5 more, and then 10 more. Okay, so you can add it up like this. Here's a 10 and a 10, so that's 20. And then here's a 5 and a 5, so that's another 10. So it's going to be 30. So this is going to equal 30 centimeters. And you can write that out, show the addition. Some people like to do it this way. They'll add these two, and they'll say, well, that's 15, and they know that these other sides are the same, so then they'll just double it, and that'll work too. For B, the perimeter of a square is 12 meters. What is the length of one side of the square? Well, you have to know what a square is, right? So a square is going to have 4 equal sides. So here's our square, and it says the entire perimeter. So this side plus this side plus this side plus this side is equal to 12. And there are 4 equal sides. So if the whole distance all the way around is 12, and you have 4 sides that are equal, we can divide it by 4, and we find out that the length of each side is going to be 3 meters. So one side of this square is 3 meters. And we can check ourselves with that. 3 meters times 4 would be 12 meters. C says find the perimeter of this figure. All angles are right angles. Dimensions are in kilometers. All right, I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. Here's what I was telling you about where they do not give you all of the distances. So we've got to be able to figure it out. So we do know that this is 5 and that this matches up. This is 5. Okay, good. We know that this is 2 and this is 4 and this is 2. Now I'm missing, and we know this is 12, right? I'm missing this piece over here. But if I know that all angles are right angles, it's got to be the same as this one. Based, again, not on how it looks, but what we know about the geometry of it. If this is a right angle and this is a right angle, then these lines, right, they're perpendicular to this, okay? So it's like you're looking at a rectangle here, isn't it? And so we would know that that opposite one has to be 2. So the other piece we're missing, though, is this piece right here. Now, we don't know what that is, but I do see that this plus this plus this would have to equal what? Move that down here, move the 4 down here, and you see this entire side has got to be equal to this 12. So let's think about that for a second. If this piece of it is 2 and this piece of it is 4, then we can figure out this piece, right? 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus what is 12? Well, that's got to be 6. So I can put a 6 in here. So that helps me as I go to add up all my distances around my figure here. So let's put a 6 here, and let's put our 2 here. Now I think that will get us all the way around. We can kind of see which ones are the easiest to add up. That might be helpful. The easiest thing I see is I've got a 5 and a 5 here. That makes a 10. I like that strategy of adding 10s, making 10s. I can see another 10 here. Let's see if we did 6 and 4. That makes a 10. So we've got another 10. And then I can add, let's see, I've got this 2, and this 2, and this 2. So that's going to be 6. That didn't make a 10, but that's okay. And then I've got this 12 down here. So I can count these up, 10, 20, 36, 37, 38. That's going to equal 38. And they said that it's in kilometers. So the perimeter of this is 38 kilometers. All right, D says the radius of a circle is 5 inches. So we're going to draw our circle. The radius is from the center to the outside, and that's 5 inches. Find the circumference of the circle. We got to think about our formula. We know circumference is equal to pi times the diameter, or circumference is equal to 2 pi times the radius, because the 2 radii would equal a diameter. So these two formulas are equivalent. Now we have the radius, so I'm probably just going to go with this one. You could double it and go with the first one if you wanted to. Either one would be fine. So circumference is going to be equal to 2 pi times the radius. I can go ahead and double and say the 2 times the 5. That's okay. This is all multiplication. I could put these little multiplication symbols in there, and it's okay to multiply out of order if everything is a multiplication. So 2 times 5 is 10, and then our answer is going to be 10 times pi. You may notice in the answers that they will list as one of the answers 10 pi inches. That's listed as one of the answers. It's in bold in the solutions key. And that's fine to leave it in terms of pi. You could totally just stop right there. We didn't talk about that in the other videos because at first they wanted you to multiply it out. But it is acceptable to leave it in, they call that in terms of pi. You could also go ahead and multiply it out and say, hey, that's going to be approximately 10 times 3.14. Okay, I'm not going to use that as my times, because that gets a little confusing with a decimal. We'll do it like this. All right, and then that would be 31.4 inches. So this would be an approximation because we rounded pi to 3.14. This would be an exact answer left in terms of pi. And again, if you look in the solutions manual, both of those are listed as answers, and really either are acceptable. You can just ask your parent or your teacher which they would prefer. All right, E says find the perimeter of this figure. This is where a composite figure where they've put a polygon with a part of a circle. Dimensions are in feet. All right, let's see if we can figure out. We can't just look at this and say, oh, I bet this is a square, and I bet this side is this, or oh, I bet, we can't do that. We gotta know geometrically. So let's start here, because right now we do not know this side. We do know this side is 6 because these are all right angles and it's across from this other 6 over here. Let's go over here and look at the circle. Again, this radius could be here, or it could be here, or I could move it even from here. That's still a radius, right? So if that's my radius, that's 3. And I could also look at it as right here, and that's 3. So now I know, hey, this total is 6. The diameter of that semicircle, which would mean this side has to also be 6. So we now know this side, and we're sure of that. So I can find the perimeter going around. I can see this is 6, plus this is 6, plus this is 6. Or what would be faster is to say I have 3 6s, which is 18. I can get that answer, right? That's the yellow part, so I'll color code that. And then I need to figure out what that circular part is. So we'll go in orange over here. Oh, it's trying to make the shape for me. So we'll go in orange over here, and I can look at that and say, we know that we can do circumference is equal to pi times the diameter, or circumference is 2 pi times the radius. Here I can use either. I'm going to use the top one since I already have the diameter. Circumference is equal to pi times the diameter, which is 6. So I could leave it in terms of pi, and say that that's just the circumference is 6 pi. And so, well, actually for the whole thing, right? And we only want half of it, right? So we're going to take half of that. So I guess I could go back all the way up here and say, I know I'm going to have to divide that by 2 because it's half of a circle. And then we could say that's just 3 pi, okay? So that would mean the total thing would be, if this is my orange part, the total would be 18 plus 3 pi if you leave it in terms of pi, or you could work that out and say, well, I know what 3 pi is. 3 pi is going to be 3.14 times 3, and we can work that out. Okay, so I've got a 9.42, and then I can add that to my 18, and that's going to be 27.42, and we know that the units are in feet, and that is our perimeter. And again, since I rounded it, we'll change this to approximately, and this one is exact. Okay, and that, I believe, yep, that's all of the practice problems.